Welcome to the Christian Woman Leadership Podcast, where we hope to inspire you to embrace your God-given gifts, skills, and passions in order to lead with confidence. We want you to remember that you are fearfully and wonderfully made in the image of God, and you are fully loved by Him.
You have been designed on purpose by God with unique gifts and passions in order to love and lead those around you. I'm your host, Esther Littlefield, a pastor's wife, business owner, mom, and writer.
And I'm Esther's co-host, Holly Kane. I'm a wife, mom, and business owner. I also write at hollykane.org, where I focus on my passion for women's ministry.
Together, we chat about important issues that Christian women leaders face. In addition, we interview other women just like you who lead in various roles, from church to community to business. Through this podcast, we offer you encouragement, tools, and resources to help you on your leadership journey. We are so glad you're here with us. Hi, friend. I'm Esther Littlefield, and today I am joined by Jocelyn Sams. Jocelyn is one half of the dynamic duo behind flippedlifestyle.com. Jocelyn and her husband, Shane, are a real couple making their entire living selling digital products online through membership websites. Their mission is to help other families become self-employed and work from home through their Flipped Lifestyle podcast, Flip Your Life community, and their blog at flippedlifestyle.com. That is a mouthful. So thank you for joining me today, Jocelyn.
Yes, I'm so excited to be here today. Thank you for having me on.
Awesome. So as we get started, Jocelyn, I would love to just hear about your leadership journey and how you have come to recognize your leadership in your life.
Okay, well, I'll tell you a little bit about me. So I am originally from the state of Kentucky. I grew up here, moved away briefly when Shane and I got married about 15 years ago, moved to West Virginia. And then we decided we just couldn't stay away, and it was way too cold in West Virginia. So we decided to come back home. So I've lived in Kentucky almost all of my life. We live in a small town in southeastern Kentucky, and we have two children. Isaac, he's 10, and Anna Jo is 8. So we have a very full life, very energetic all the time, and always something going on. So,
Awesome.
we have gone through a lot of different things as far as like careers go. I started out after I graduated from the University of Kentucky in the early 2000s. I started out doing the corporate thing. So I did a lot of travel. I was involved in sales and marketing, and Shane was working as a football coach, and we were sort of going different directions. And because of that, we wanted something that was going to be, where we could see each other more often.
Yeah.
Because when we first got married, we were always somewhere different. So Shane actually had an education degree, and he was like, I think I'm going to try to become a teacher. And I was like, that sounds like fun, because they have a lot better schedule than I do in the corporate world. So I thought I would start substituting and just see what happened.
Yeah.
So long story short, I decided to become a librarian for schools because I really love reading. I really love technology, and both of those things were something that you do in the library space. So that's when I decided, okay, well, I'll become a teacher so I can have a better schedule, basically. And, it was at that point where we worked in that a few years, and we were kind of like, okay, is this all there is? And we had a bad experience. So my oldest son, Isaac, my oldest child, he was in daycare at the time. And we had a bad experience in our daycare, and someone was basically mistreating him. I won't go into all the details of that, but it was a very ugly situation. We had social services involved, all that kind of stuff. And it was at that point where Shane started saying, okay, I don't want someone else taking care of my kid. Like, I want to be the one taking care of them. So he started asking, what can I do to make that possible? And that's where all this journey sort of began, from us being teachers to becoming entrepreneurs.
Okay. All right. So what happened next? Where did you go after becoming a teacher?
Okay. So we're teachers. He's a high school history teacher at the time, and he was also a football coach. And I was an elementary school librarian. And we both worked in the same district, which was really nice. We had the same days off, all that kind of thing. So, we always say that we were happy enough. Like,
Yeah.
things were okay. Like we were living paycheck to paycheck like a lot of people do. And, we had our nice house, we had our 2 kids, we had our 2 cars, whatever.
Yeah.
But we were just sort of thinking in the back of our minds, like, this can't be all there is. And, once all that happened with our son, Shane was like, okay, what could we do? So we start thinking, okay, could we open a store? Could we sell something? I even bought a sewing machine and tried to sew some curtains at one time, which is hilarious because I'm not very good at it. But
Me
anyway,
either. I'm bad at that.
yeah, it's not my best thing that I'm talented at. So anyway, we tried to do some of that, and we just kept thinking. Well, one day he was at home mowing the lawn, and he was listening to a podcast. He was like, I'm tired of music. Like, I'm just going to turn on some podcast. And this was back in 2012, when podcasting was fairly new.
Yeah.
He found a business one, and so he turns it on. Well, on this particular podcast, the person on it was talking about how they developed a digital product and how they sold it online. People gave them money for this product, and it was an exam study guide.
Yeah.
So that sort of got the wheels in his head turning, and he thought, okay, if this person can do this, like, we know things too, maybe we can do this too. And that's how it started back in the summer of 2012.
Okay. Awesome. So at that point, did you start Flip Lifestyle, or did you do something different at that
No.
point?
So the first websites that we had, okay, so we started thinking, okay, he's a football coach, he's a history teacher, I'm a librarian. Like, what could we do with that? And I am a very practical individual, so I'm not going to go out on a limb and do anything crazy. So I was like, you know what? If I start a librarian website, if nobody buys anything, like, I'll still have stuff to use in my own classroom. So I started that website. I started kind of blogging. I started writing lesson plans with the intent of selling those lesson plans to other librarians because I wanted a certain thing and I couldn't find it. So I thought, you know what? If I'm looking for this, probably other people are too. So that's how I started that one. He at the same time was working on several different things. Shane's a little I don't know what you would say. I guess like sporadic, and he's very flighty. He likes, he chases the squirrel from here to there.
Right.
And he was working on, I think, like 2 or 3 different projects. But I was like railroad track,
Okay.
streamline straight ahead.
Yeah.
And they were all successful in some ways, but mine was like very successful. I put my product up for sale in August of 2012. It was basically 1 month of lesson plans that I had made back in August because I'm like, okay, I'm going to make just a little bit and see if people buy them. And if they do, then I'll make some more.
Right.
So the very first month, I think I made like $2,000 or something crazy.
Yeah.
So I was
That's
like, there's something to this,
Right. Okay. Awesome. So that started your business at the time. How long did you do that for?
Okay, so I started elementary librarian in June of 2012, and I had that one until I think July of 17. I actually sold that business.
Okay.
In July of 17 because, we were really trying to go all in on Flip Lifestyle. We started Flip Lifestyle back in 2014.
Okay.
And the reason that we did that is because people kept asking us, how are you doing this? Like, I want to quit my job. I want to start a business of my own. And we were like, okay, we have some really powerful information that people need.
Yeah.
And so we started talking about that.
Okay. So how would you say that your faith has played a role in your leadership journey and your business journey?
I would say definitely when we were starting out because, starting something for us is not really a huge thing. Like, we're pretty motivated people in general. So if we decided we're going to do something, we do it. But the real faith piece came in for me when we were thinking about quitting our jobs. Because, we live in rural Southeast Kentucky. 2 teachers here, that's a really good job. And we decided to quit our jobs in September of 2013. Well, the problem is school starts in August. So school had already been going for a little while.
Mm,
And, Shane comes to me with this crazy idea, as he often does. He's like, we need to quit our jobs. And I'm like, bro, I don't think we can do that. So, for me, it was a lot of praying, a lot of trusting that God would provide for us and, just show us the path that we needed to go on because I really didn't know. Like, it was a very scary thing. We had so many people in our lives like, this is crazy. Why are you guys doing this? They just didn't understand.
yeah.
But we just very strongly felt like this is what we needed to do.
Hmm. Okay. And so did you sense God leading you in that direction and giving you that confirmation to take that step?
We did. And it was super scary because when God is saying, do this, and the rest of the world is saying, do that, that's a scary point in your life because you're like, oh, well, I'm pretty sure God says go this way, but everyone else is saying go the other way.
Yeah.
And, we stepped out in faith and we did what we felt we were called to do.
Okay. All right. So tell us a little bit about how that has shifted your life now. Like, what do things look like now? And what have those steps of faith brought for you?
Okay. Well, it has been just unbelievable is the only way I can describe it. I mean, we have been just so abundantly blessed and not just in a financial way. I mean, that is definitely part of it.
Hmm.
But I would say the bigger part of it for us is just the impact that we've been able to have for other people. Just, letting people know that there's something else out there. Like you don't necessarily have to do what the world tells you have to do, what your parents tell you have to do, what your friends tell you have to do. You don't have to do that.
Yeah.
And that was something that was just really, really powerful for us to learn. We've had people in our community, and we've had probably dozens of people quit their jobs. We've had hundreds of people start a business and help their family with extra income or whatever it is that they're trying to do.
Yeah.
We help them spend more time with their families. Like just the ability to use the gifts that we've always had to bring about change in people's lives, like that's just been amazing.
Okay. Yeah. That's awesome. It's so, I mean, that's such a big part of leadership, right? Is being able to make an impact on others and lead others to see what they can give to the world too.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. And that's my favorite thing. I mean, just when actually last night we were in Lexington, we went to dinner with some clients of ours. They've been with us almost since the very beginning.
mm,
And they hit a huge business milestone not too long ago. And so we went up to have dinner with them. And,
yeah.
just that, just saying, with someone coming to you and saying, thank you for doing what you do because it made a difference in my life. I mean, that's so powerful.
Mm, yeah. So how would you define leadership?
Okay, well, I would define leadership as, let me think about this for just a minute.
Mhm.
I would say having some courage to help people go from where they are to where they can go to.
Mm, yeah. Love it. Really pulling out that potential in people is so
Absolutely.
important. Yeah.
Yes, that's what we're all about. Like, we believe that everyone has something amazing inside of them. We believe that God didn't just put us here to be born, live our lives, and, you know, go on from this earth. We
Yeah.
believe there's more to it than that.
Yeah. Okay. And I know, I'm pretty sure your business isn't necessarily a quote unquote Christian business, right? Like you work with people of all backgrounds, correct? So,
We do.
yeah. So do you incorporate faith into the business in some ways? And can you tell us about that?
Yeah, we do. So, one of the things that we do is we include a Bible verse on our podcast. We have people from our community come onto our podcast, and a lot of times they will want to share their own verse.
Oh, nice.
So, we let them do that.
Yeah.
So, it's a way of us sort of sprinkling it in without like beating people over the head with it.
Hmm. Yeah.
So, we have done that several times. We do attract a lot of different people, and it's kind of interesting the different types of people who come to us. So, like, people will write to us who are homosexual.
Mhm.
People will write to us who have other types of sin in their life.
Mhm.
And we, of course, are Christians and we, of course, believe the things that we believe, but we are okay with attracting those kinds of people. Like, we believe that we can be a light for other people.
Yeah. Right.
So we always take those opportunities.
Yeah. That's awesome. All right. So let's talk a little bit about how God has wired us, because you talked about that you believe people have potential. And so part of that, I think, is understanding how God has wired us each uniquely and differently, and how we can use those gifts in our lives. So is there a particular tool or tools that you have used in your own life to discover that? And what do you use and why do you like it?
Okay, well, we are kind of obsessed with different personality exams and assessments. We do these all the time. I've actually done the official Myers-Briggs, but then I also have done several online, just to kind of like compare them and see how they're different, see how they're the same. I'm usually pretty solidly a INTJ. That is me. My husband, Shane, he is an ENFP, which is very interesting. So we kind of balance each other out a little bit.
Yep.
And I love that. We also do the Enneagram. So I am type 1 perfectionist. That's me.
That's me too.
Yes. And I think a lot of entrepreneurial people are type 1.
Yeah. Yep. What about your husband? Do you know what he is?
He is a 7.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
and how has that impacted your relationship? Like understanding these different personalities?
It's been really interesting because we always knew that we had similarities and differences. I mean, everyone's able to kind of recognize that.
Yeah.
But it's when you take these types of assessments and you start reading the different things, and I think it's coming to a realization of yourself, for one thing, because sometimes I think that we have traits about ourselves that we might not necessarily want to see all the time. We sort of don't really want to think about those things, like those negative things, or what they call the challenges.
Yeah.
We don't always want to think about those things, but when you see it there in black and white, you're kind of like, oh yeah, that is how I operate. And then when you start reading about the other person, you're like, oh, that makes total sense. So we have definitely used those types of test results to sort of figure out like what the other person needs from us, what our biggest strengths are, how we can best use those strengths, and how we can sort of counteract the weaknesses or the challenges.
Yeah. Yeah. Have you used that in anywhere else besides in your marriage? Like, I'm curious about your team, and if you've done any of this with your team. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so we went from a very large team to a kind of small team not too long ago.
Okay.
And the reason for that is because, due to these types of exams and assessments that we've taken, we realized that we just really don't like leading people. It's not something that either of us particularly enjoy. So we sort of pared our team down to like 3 contractors. And that's pretty much all we work with. So I don't really know much about their personalities. I would be curious, especially about our main assistant. I suspect that hers is very similar to mine, and I know she's probably a perfectionist, which I like.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting you shared that because, I think some people love leading in big groups and having lots and lots of people. And then others are better in that smaller setting. And that sounds like what you guys have figured out for yourselves is like you prefer to work with a smaller group of people and lead in that smaller level. Is that right?
Yes, that is right. We like to lead our customers, but we don't necessarily like to lead people who work for us.
Okay. Gotcha.
And that's taken some time, we are almost 5 years into this and we have just now figured this out.
Right. Yeah. And it's important to figure that out. And it does take time as you go through those different journeys in your business and your life to see what's working and what's not. So,
yes, absolutely.
Okay. All right. So I'd love to hear a little bit about how you've managed as you've gone from being a teacher to then having a business, and now you and your husband running this business together. And then all throughout this whole time, you've been parents, right? So can you talk a little bit about how you've managed your family life as a mom, as a wife, and just juggling all the responsibilities?
Yeah, I'll be really honest and I'll say that it's hard. I mean, you know this because I know that you have a lot of the same responsibilities that I have. It is very difficult at times. We are just like anyone else. We try things, we see what's working, we try to change things that aren't working. And, sometimes we just have bad days.
Hmm.
And I feel like, especially recently, we decided to homeschool our children back in December,
Oh, wow.
which was a huge decision considering, we're already running a business. We own a property. We have kids. Our kids have activities.
Yeah.
But something that was really important to us was having schedule flexibility.
Mm,
And because they were in the public school, we just felt like we had very little schedule flexibility.
yeah.
And because of that, we decided to take the chance and go out on a limb and do homeschooling.
Okay.
It has been very interesting so far. That's uh, that's probably the nicest thing I can say about it. No, you know what? There have been a lot of good things, but
Mhm.
it has been very challenging. Just trying to, okay, when are we going to work? When are we going to work on their school? When are we going to do this? When are we going to do that?
Yeah.
It's been very difficult. I'll say, for me, it's very important to have things as structured as possible. I like to have specified times to work. I like to have specified times that they're doing school,
Yeah.
different times that we do different things. Now, Shane, on the other hand, he is wake up and fly by the seat of your pants kind of guy. So that makes it a little difficult because,
Yeah.
he wants to do things one way and I want to do things a different way.
Yeah. Yeah. That definitely can be a tricky balance. And
Yeah,
that's a
for sure.
very common thing, I think, for ones and sevens. It seems like that's a pretty common place to be. So,
Yeah. But we work on it every day and it's not perfect. It never will be.
yeah.
But I think part of it, this whole journey for us is just learning that it's okay for everything not to be perfect. Well, especially for me to learn that.
Hmm.
Sometimes life is going to be a little messy and you just have to live in that and figure out, okay, what's working, what's not. Let's try to do more of what's working.
Yeah. Yeah. So, are there any habits or routines that you personally have included in your life to help you kind of be effective as a leader, as a businesswoman?
Yeah. So, one of the things that I do pretty regularly is meditation. I
Mhm.
thought it was a little bit crazy when people first told me about it. I'm like, okay, that sounds very, I don't know. It
Yeah,
sounds a little out there for me, but I downloaded the Headspace app. I don't know if you've used that one,
I've
but
heard of it. I haven't actually used it.
yeah. So I was getting like really super stressed for a very long period of time. And I was like, I've got to do something to like calm my brain down a little bit. So I was working with a counselor for a little while, and she's the one who suggested to me to use this app. And so that's something that I do fairly regularly. It's pretty quick, like it's usually about 10-15 minutes, and it just helps to silence your brain for just a little while.
Mm,
And
yeah.
that's something that we all need, especially as women, as
Mhm.
moms. Like we need a few moments of
Yeah.
silence.
It can make a huge difference for sure when we can
Yeah,
have that quiet time, but it's definitely hard, especially um, if you are somebody who likes to get a lot done and you're productive, it's hard to slow yourself down. So,
absolutely.
yeah.
And, I'm also a person who I'm always after the next thing, which can be a good thing, but I think it's not always a healthy thing. So,
Yeah.
another thing that I've done recently is I've tried to incorporate a gratitude journal into my day.
Yeah.
And so I write down some things that I'm thankful for, and then I write down some things that I want to pray for. And I do that usually in the morning time. And just adding in those couple of things, really makes a big difference.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. Gratitude can just change your perspective on everything. So having it be a
Absolutely.
habit is so key. Yeah. That's awesome. Okay, so I would love to talk for a minute about, where you guys your business really is helping other people start a business, right? So
Yes.
I know that we have some listeners who maybe have an idea or have something that they would like to pursue, but they're scared or they don't know where to start. Do you have any tips for someone who is just in that very beginning phases of, okay, I want to put something out there, but I don't know what to do?
Yeah. So the first thing, and it won't be very surprising to most people, I think, because, if you listen to a lot of podcasts, you hear a lot about it, but you have to get your mindset right. And that's something that's hard for a lot of people because of a lot of different reasons. It's from societal reasons. Society tells us that we have to do things a certain way. Or it might be something that we learned as children. You're supposed to grow up, you go to college, you get a job, and that's it.
Yeah.
You retire and you ride off into the sunset. So that's what society tells us. And, you have to convince yourself, okay, I can do this. This is possible. And I actually want to do it. Because a lot of people kind of want to do something, but if you're not all in on it, it's not going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So the first thing I would say is just work on that mindset piece, like decide to do it and like actually decide to do it. And
Yeah.
just start taking action. Like it can even be something so small. I always say on our podcast that baby steps get you closer to your goal than standing still. So just
Mm-hmm.
start taking some baby steps, like even if it's just, investigating what you might do. If it is looking to see if anyone else out there offers something similar and is selling it, even if it's just little bitty things like that,
Mm.
that will just get your mind going. It will get you started and, you can start moving toward what you eventually want.
Yeah. Yeah. So, what would you say are some of the lessons you've learned about leadership or business in your several years now that you've been doing this whole online business thing?
Okay. Well, I think that one thing, and I've mentioned it several times, is that you don't have to stay in your lane. Like, just because I think a lot of times people think, okay, well, I went to college to be a teacher, I spent all that money, so, I better use this degree.
Mm.
Well, it's okay. Like, it's okay to break free from that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I've learned not to let that influence what I want. Like if I want something different and I feel like God is telling me, hey, go out there and get that, to not be scared of that and
Mm.
like, you know, take a chance and see
Yeah.
what happens. As far as like leadership goes, I mentioned it earlier too. I've learned that I do enjoy leading people, but I'm the best at leading people in a certain way.
Yeah.
And for me, that means the way that I lead my customers
Mhm.
and not so much the way that I would lead like a team to do work the way that I want it done. Because one of the things that I've learned about myself through all of these tests that I've taken, just through life experience, is that, I'm a very perfectionistic person. I like things done a certain way. And if things don't get done the way that I want them done, it sort of derails me off everything else.
Mm. Mhm. Yeah.
So, I found ways of figuring out, okay, this is what I need to delegate, this is what I need to do myself, and this
Yeah.
is how I need to lead my community.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I think you mentioned in some of the stuff you sent to me ahead of time that you have done some outsourcing for your home. Can you talk about how that's worked and how that's freed you up maybe to spend time on the business and put your efforts there?
Yes, I love talking about this. Okay. So, when we started our business, our children were 3 and 18 months. And as all parents know, that is a very trying time.
Yeah.
And, on paper, should you start a business at that time? Probably not, but we decided to do it. So, at first I was doing everything. So we were working full-time jobs as teachers, when we first started. We were doing all the housework. We were doing all the lawn work. We were doing all the child care and all that type of thing. And, it was really hard. So, as we started to grow the business, one thing that I knew that I really wanted to outsource was some of the household chores, meaning the laundry, the dishes, just cleaning things up around the house, just tidying up, that type of thing, because I had no mental space for it. Like, I
Mhm.
couldn't do the work, do that work, and my kids were starting to get older at that point. They had activities they were going to and different things. And I was like, something's got to give. I can't do all this. So we brought someone into our house. They work usually about 20 to 25 hours a week, depending on what all we have going on.
Yep.
And they basically just, she does errands, she does our laundry, does our dishes, picks stuff up. She organizes things, she files things for us.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's basically like having a second mom in the house. It's pretty nice.
So did you have to deal with any either inner guilt or outer criticism when you did that, when you took that step to outsource some of the household chores?
Yeah, it's funny because the story that you tell yourself is, oh, I can't do that because people will judge me. People will think, oh, you should be doing that.
Hmm.
And I don't know that anyone has said anything like that to me. I think usually the sentiment is more like, oh, that's amazing. I wish I had that. Now, for myself, okay, so the story that we'll often tell ourselves is, well, I want things done a certain way and no one can do it that way.
Yeah.
But that's a story that we tell ourselves because the person that I have now, I mean, does she do it 100% the way I would do it? Probably not. But she does it about 90% the way that I would do it. And that's good enough for me because
Yeah.
I don't have to do it. The beautiful thing about it is that, on the weekends and the evenings, I don't have to worry about things. Like I can come home and actually get some rest rather than thinking, oh, I've got to start this laundry. I have to clean the bathroom or whatever.
Mhm.
Like all that stuff is already done.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think one of the things that you mentioned is the mental space. That actually is even more impactful sometimes than the actual time it takes to do the things, is not having to think about the responsibility and the long to-do list, right?
Exactly. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess I would love to just wrap up here with asking you, if you could share advice with a younger leader, someone who's maybe just starting out in their ministry or their career or business, what would you tell her?
Okay, well, I alluded to it just a little while ago, and it's that same sentiment that, God put us all here for a purpose. And part of our journey as people is figuring out what is that purpose? How can I best use my gifts to be a leader to other women? And, it doesn't necessarily mean that you always have to start a business. You have to start a podcast. You have to start a website. You have to be whatever. Like we all have different gifts and we need to use those. Like there's no reason for us to just sit idly by and wonder, when am I going to become a leader?
Mhm.
When is this going to work out for me? Like there's some personal responsibility. There's definitely prayer involved.
Yeah.
God, what do you want me to do? And then there's also, God, I will do what you need me to do. And I think
Yeah.
sometimes we leave that part out.
Yeah.
We don't want to meet him halfway. We just want him to just show us the way. And
Right.
that's not always how it works. And so I would just really be in prayer for that. Just how can I use my gifts to serve others? And
Yeah.
that looks different ways for different people. But I think that is probably the advice that I would give to anyone in this situation, just, wanting to step out, wanting to do something new. Just look for that guidance. Find other strong women who are doing something similar to what you think you might want to do
Yeah.
and see what they're doing. Check
Yeah.
it out.
And I think what you shared earlier about taking baby steps, like when we're talking about business, I think it applies here too, that sometimes God isn't going to give you like a lightning bolt moment of here's your purpose or here's the thing that I want you to do, but it might just be baby step of I'm going to do this one little thing, right? And then that's going to lead you.
Yeah, and I love that. I think that's a great idea. Like God's not going to come to us in the burning bush, most likely. Like he did to Moses. He's
Yeah.
not going to come and say, "Hey, you need to do X, Y, and Z." Like we
Yeah.
have to kind of seek it out, and that's hard. It's hard in our society, but it's like I said before. Like if you really want to do something, then don't worry about what everyone else is saying to you, and that's hard
Mhm.
to do. You
Yeah.
have to surround yourself with like-minded people. And it
Mm.
might mean finding an online group that suits your needs. It might mean finding a physical group of people who are doing something similar to what you want to do. But finding people who are going to speak into your life in a positive way when it comes to leadership is really important.
Yeah, absolutely. Have you had any particular mentors or people that have spoken into your life that have impacted you?
Yeah, actually. So I would say it's funny. I know this is a women's podcast, but my husband Shane probably is the person who has been most impactful for me
Mm.
in this journey.
Yeah.
We started out together. We do have very different strengths. So we're able to kind of pull different things out of each other, which is really good. And I also have a small group of ladies that I travel with. We just actually came back from Cancun, Mexico last week, which was amazing. But I have a very small group of ladies. We are all Christian women business owners. One of them is Kate All, who I know that you talked to not long ago.
Yep. She was just on episode 37.
Yeah, she's amazing. And the other ladies that I went with are also amazing. But, we talked to each other. We talked about how we can pray for each other. We talk about different challenges that we're facing in the business, how other people in the group have overcome those challenges. And we keep in touch through Voxer, which is like a walkie-talkie type program. I'm sure that you're familiar with it. Probably other listeners are too. We love Voxer, but we keep in contact that way. And, it's just a touch point for us, like throughout the week, throughout the month, throughout the year. We're thinking about doing a second getaway. So it'll be like 2 trips where we actually come together. And that's just really super cool to have those people who are going through the same types of things. And, they really get where we're coming from.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so important to have that support system. And like you said, to know who you're going to actually take advice and input from, and not have it be open to everybody's opinions.
Yeah, that can get very dangerous, So you just have to find the right people who get you, who understand what you're trying to do, and just surround yourself with as many of those as possible.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. So I want to just mention that what we like to end with here, Jocelyn, is leaders are learners. And I really believe that we are always learning. If we want to be growing as a leader, we should always be learning. So is there something that you have been learning lately, or listening to, or reading that you would like to share that you think might benefit our listeners?
Okay. One of the books that we love, I'm a reader. I mentioned before, I used to be a librarian, so I really love to read. But one of the books that has been very impactful for us is the Profit First book by Mike Michalowicz.
Yep.
So it's sort of an accounting system, for lack of a better word. It's a way of like organizing your finances, and it's really changed our business. So before we started using it, our financial stuff was kind of all over the place and we really didn't know what to do. But now we have a system for organizing, what our operating expenses are, what our profit is, and all of these different types of things. And it just makes a lot of sense. And it has just really changed the way that we do things. So I would really love to recommend that book. It's a really good one.
Yeah, we'll put the link to that in the show notes for sure. So, all right. I would love to have you share with everybody where they can connect with you. And if you have anything, your favorite place to connect on social media, any links you want to share. And again, we'll put all these in the show notes too.
Okay. Well, anyone who's interested in learning more about online business, we have a online business quick start guide, totally free for your listeners. You can head over to Flipped Lifestyle. That's FLIPPED lifestyle.com/CWL for Christian Woman Leadership.
Awesome.
And so that's our link for, it's a video course, and we would love to have people come and just check it out, see if online business might be for you.
Okay.
And then we use Facebook pretty frequently. So it's just Flipped Lifestyle on Facebook. And we also use Instagram, and it's Flipped LS.
Okay. And of course, you have your podcast. So if you are a podcast listener, hop over and check out their podcast.
Flipped Lifestyle Podcast. We are at least once a week. Sometimes we do more.
Okay.
We talk to people in our community and help them with their business.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Jocelyn, for taking the time to be on the show today. I really appreciate hearing your journey and learning more about what you're doing.
Absolutely. It's great to be here. Thank you so much.
Thanks for joining us on the Christian Woman Leadership Podcast. If you're looking for additional support, growth, and accountability to take action, I would love to invite you to check out the Confident Leader Club. We only open the doors a few times a year, so you can jump on the wait list right now so that you're the first to know when the doors open. Or if we happen to be open when you're listening, you'll be able to join right away. I can't wait to see you on the inside. Now, don't forget, your leadership matters, and it's time for you to embrace your gifts and lead with confidence.